Right now, we bring to you Dallas Cowboys color broadcaster and former Dallas Cowboy himself. It is Babe Laufenberg. Good morning, sir.
Corey and Kevin, good morning to you both.
Gotta ask right out the gate, especially since you were on some of these teams, have you watched any of the Netflix documentary?
I have watched about none of it.
Okay.
Yeah, haven't seen any.
Yeah.
Haven't seen
He's
any.
very busy watching film.
Okay.
Yeah, I really am. I'm immersed in today.
Okay.
Right? Today and tomorrow's game, and trying to figure out how they're going to stop Ben DiNucci and the whole 9 yards.
Right. What do you think about those Ben DiNucci?
Yeah.
What do you think about those hats that Ben DiNucci's company does?
You know what's funny? I'm really not a big hat guy, so it's hard for me to. I wear a hat to keep the sun off my head, and I kind of have this French Foreign Legion hat. It's a fishing hat. It's a fly fishing hat, but it works great. It covers your neck and
right.
I've had a
I've
couple
seen
things
those.
carved out of it's awesome. I'll never forget. Actually, I'll digress a little bit here. Went to Ranger spring training, and I had that on at one of the things. Tom Grieve said, "Man, I love that hat. I mow my lawn." I said, "You still mow your lawn, Tom?" So, opening day, I was out there and I brought a hat up into the booth for him.
Nice.
He loved it.
So there's a lot of pressure for me on this question because I asked about Netflix. No. Hats. No.
Yep.
So I really need to hit with this one. I know that they were evaluating him for a concussion and everything, but outside of that, do you get the sense at all that Luke Schoonmaker has fallen out of favor?
That's going on the assumption that he was ever in favor.
Oh,
No, he has not. He has not been a guy that they've said, "There's our guy." Fallen out of favor. I mean, it's hard to say that, but he hasn't been. Let me just say this: you took him with a second-round pick. He
right.
has not been that guy. The guy they took with the fourth-round pick, they just gave a contract extension to in Jake Ferguson, right? So that kind of told you a little bit about their thought on Luke Schoonmaker, I think, when you go and extend Jake Ferguson. But, Ferguson is the starter. But I'm sure there was a clear expectation when they got Schoonmaker that he was gonna be their guy, and Jake Ferguson would be sort of that second tight end. But it hasn't worked that way.
Is it just injuries that you think, or like what else? It feels like there's more than just injuries that has contributed to him just never being that guy.
Yeah, it's so hard to say. I'll go back. I'll remember Mo Claiborne, the corner. Obviously they took him with the sixth pick in the draft. He never really panned out. But I will say this: talking to other people at that time, around the league, other defensive coordinators and head coaches, they loved Mo Claiborne coming out. Nobody said, "Wow, what were they thinking?" But he was hurt. It seemed like every training camp he was injured going into it. And he never got that, to me, he never got that foundation, that base of training camp, where you kind of learn how to play the NFL game. Now, did he have enough time to learn it and all and become that player that they thought he would be? Yes, but see a little bit of that in Schoonmaker. Things just haven't gone his way from that standpoint. And then there's no question your confidence gets shaken, right? You're supposed to be the guy and you're not the guy.
Sure.
So he's got to figure out a way to get his confidence back. They have to figure out a way to get his confidence back. And maybe, as we've seen, you see it with quarterbacks, Sam Darnold, Baker Mayfield. Maybe he needs another team to get that confidence back.
Babe, I watched your video that you posted on Twitter, the Joe Milton and Will Greer, the same route pretty much up the seam. And I was talking to Kevin earlier this week, and I was like, man, if I'm Joe Milton this offseason, I'm calling the best quarterbacks ever and picking their brain, asking if I can get some help working through some of these things. Are the things that you're seeing him do incorrectly fixable? And do you see him making growth and taking steps from when you first saw him to where he is at the moment?
Well, I'll kind of go to your first question about calling other quarterbacks. You've got coaches out there.
Yeah. No, yeah, I get that too.
I mean, that's why they're paying him to turn him into a player or make him the best player that he can be. Now, would I call Troy Aikman if I had the opportunity and pick his brain? Absolutely.
Yes.
Absolutely. But he has not been an NFL quarterback so far. I mean, and this is not, I know it gets into Twitter and people will take one line, but he's not doing the things an NFL quarterback needs to do. He's not ready to play that position. And I hear too, no, that doesn't mean he won't be, right?
Right.
Yeah.
But there's just things that you see, and I won't get into all the technical details of it or the nuances, but there's things you see where you say, hey, the guy's not ready to play. I watched Dylan Gabriel. Cleveland played this past weekend, and I was interested in watching him, and I mean, he just operated. Now, not near the talent of Joe Milton. We know that. Doesn't have the size, doesn't have the arm strength, but boy, he just operated. Now, as we know, Dylan Gabriel started 63 college games. 63. So there's a lot of experience under his belt. And Joe Milton doesn't have that. I'll say this. So I'll go back, and I think the statute of limitations has run out. So Sean Payton won't call me and say, hey, that was off the record.
Oh.
Cowboys are down in San Antonio. Tony Romo's down there. He's a rookie. About 10 days into it, I go up to Sean, and Sean and I were friends, are friends. And I said, hey, Sean, and of course Parcells was there. So talking to an assistant coach, you could get shot if they found out.
That's right. I remember that.
Oh, God. I said to Sean, though, I said, hey, Sean, I'm watching this Romo kid. And I knew nothing about Tony Romo coming in. Nothing. I said, I'm watching him. And I said, he just seems to be getting through his progressions very nicely. And he said, oh, he's doing okay. And I said, well, the ball comes out. He's accurate. He's on time. And he says he's doing okay. So I go through about 3 things like this, right? And I get, he's doing okay. So I said, and I truly do defer to these coaches that are there, see him every day, see him in meetings, watching the film after the practice, blah, blah, blah. So I said, okay, Sean, I said, clearly I'm seeing more in him than you're seeing. And he said, off the record? And I said, oh, of course. He said, I love the guy. So he was downplaying it the whole way through. And then I said, well, I'm obviously got a misread on this guy. So, well, the bottom line is I do not see the Milton. You see all the athletic ability. You see the talent. And clearly, Brian Schottenheimer is saying, we're going to take this and we're going to develop it. And it's not a bad approach to say, hey, we've got this young guy that can run. He's big, he's prototype, got a cannon for an arm. We're going to make something out of this. And clearly that's the way they're going. But I also look at it, even when the trade happened, I'm like, why is New England giving up a quarterback that they're going to have under contract at a very low price
right
for the next 3 years, and traded him really for nothing? I mean, he got a 5th. He gave up a 7th. I mean, they really traded him for – you don't trade a quarterback like that you think could be your guy. And you might say, well, they had Drake May. Well, the Washington Commanders drafted RG3, and then they took Kirk Cousins.
Yeah.
Well, guess who? The 4th rounder turned out to be their quarterback. Matt Flynn signed a huge deal with Seattle years ago. And the rookie, the 3rd-round pick, Russell Wilson, turned out to be their quarterback. Brock Purdy – taken in the 7th round. Trey Lance was taken with the 3rd pick in the draft. Why would you take a quarterback? You just took a guy in the 3rd round last year, or with the 3rd pick. Well, Brock Purdy turned out to be the quarterback. So why New England would say, yeah, we've got this rookie, and we're going to trade him for virtually nothing. My antenna went up just a little bit on, okay, what's going on here? Again, extremely talented guy, will not be ready to play against Philadelphia if anything happens to Dak.
I know there was a football team once that took a quarterback overall number 1, and then in the supplemental draft took a quarterback in the 1st round as well. So it happened.
Did you just find that out?
No, I definitely remember. I felt kind of bad. They didn't mention Steve Walsh at all. And I was like, oh, come on. That was a huge deal at the time.
Oh, and let me just tell you, they need to interview me because Troy Aikman and I are friends. I can tell you how he felt about that. I don't know what he said in the Netflix piece. And here's the thing. Put yourself in that position, and they probably covered it, but you're the number 1 pick in the draft.
I'd be pissed.
And the head coach, not only, the head coach you turned down twice, Troy did, once when Jimmy was at Oklahoma State, and again when he transferred from Oklahoma. That head coach, who just won a national championship, brought that quarterback in.
Yeah.
So how do you think that made Troy feel?
Yeah, I would be furious.
Said, boy, these guys believe in me.
Yeah. They don't actually touch on that at all in the Netflix.
Okay.
Oh, yeah,
Well,
unfortunately.
Let me tell you, too, the supplemental pick that they gave up, that was a first-round pick the next year, which was the number one overall pick in the draft because we went 1-15.
Yeah.
So the Steve Walsh signing taking that supplemental pick turned out to be the number one pick in the draft.
That's so crazy. In terms of these Cowboys tomorrow, I know there's a lot.
Hey boys, you guys can watch Netflix, or we can sit down and have a beer.
Oh,
I can tell you what was really going on.
Okay, I'll have a cold beer with you.
Yeah. I will drink water while we sit there, but I definitely pick that option.
That's good.
So is there any particular player that you think tomorrow can really help strengthen their spot on the roster or maybe even make the team? I know the process goes far beyond just the games, but are there any players that jump to mind that you're like, oh, this is an important game for them?
James Houston, number 53.
Yes.
Has really impressed me.
Yes, me too.
He's brought the pass rush. Now, they're kind of, I don't want to say loaded at defensive end, but I got to figure out a way to keep him on my football team. There's just a few guys that have, Zion Childress has obviously shown something. I'll be surprised if they do not keep him. He's a rookie free agent from Kentucky. But, it's so funny. I forget the game, and I apologize, but it was 10, 12 years ago. I think Jason Garrett was the head coach. And, the mantra, hey, these games are important. This is the last test for these guys. Somebody went out and caught 12 balls, had 190 yards, had a 60-yard punt return, and they cut him the next day. So, so you sit there and go, hey, this is important for these young guys. And it is, the experience and all that, but I can't think of a guy, but I'm sure there's been one or two who that final preseason game jumped up and said, wow, he really wasn't on our radar, but we got to keep this guy. I know Coach Schottenheimer had mentioned Hunter Lipke last year, but I think he had already, I don't want to say solidified himself, but he was making a push all throughout camp. I mean, he just kind of continued to get better every day.
I really want to see Jaden Blue tomorrow and see what that looks like.
Yeah. It's so funny, that running back position. People say they're going to be able to run the ball. How do we know? The guys that they're counting on. Now, I will tell you, I have been impressed, and I know they took him, with the draft pick, and that means something, but Phil Maffa.
Yeah, me too.
I think he's looked pretty good. We haven't seen Jaden Blue, but I can't imagine that he won't be on the team. And we haven't seen Javonte Williams. You're keeping your fingers crossed. The other thing, kind of along that running game, a little disappointing. They played 3 starting offensive linemen last week.
That's true.
3 of the guys that most likely will start against Philly, if you count Nate Thomas at left tackle. 3 of them played. And that was a little discouraging that run game wasn't a little better when you've got 3 of your 5 offensive starters up there.
Yeah.
They'll get there.
Yeah.
Fingers crossed.
Okay. That's
Hey, you know what? I think I told you guys this story before, but I just love it because it's like, yeah, we'll be fine. We'll be fine. And Mike Maddox, Rangers pitching coach.
Right. Yes.
I tell you, okay, I got to tell you again because not everybody was listening. But long and short, there was a veteran pitcher, and I was out at spring training, covering spring training for CBS 11. And long and short, the guy was getting lit up. And after his outings, he would say, yeah, I'm just working on some things. I'm working on my changeup. I'm working on this. I'm talking to Mike Maddox, and I said, Corey Major says he's just working on some things. And he said, yeah, you know what he needs to work on? Getting people out.
That's true. That is true.
Oh, I love it, babe.
Momentum is not a light switch, baby.
I love it. Thank you very, very much for the time, good sir.
Oh, thank you, guys. I always enjoy it. And anytime. I don't say that to just everyone over there.
I love hearing
that.
I
know the shows you don't like.
Okay, all right.
I'm just kidding. I'm kidding. Thank you, babe. There you go.
What does Bobby Belt say? Love you all. Whatever it is.